All right, welcome back to the Film Grinders podcast. I'm your host, Nicholas Hauke, here with David Hollinshead. And Dave, the draft finally done. All those months of watching film for NFL scouts and front offices finally came to fruition for the NFL draft. And, I think this is the most into the draft that we've been for quite a while, just going super, super in depth, not just looking at the first couple round guys. And with that, I think we were able to see more into what franchises are kind of looking at, right? Obviously, we're not there, but I actually thought, Dave, this was pretty good from NFL front offices for the most part. There were quite a few teams that I thought had a really good draft and had good processes. It wasn't perfect by any means, as it's never going to be, right? Unless you're the Eagles. But I thought it was pretty there's a lot of logical picks there. There weren't a lot of head scratching picks in the first couple rounds from most teams. There were a couple, and we're going to get to that a little bit later, but we're starting with winners today, and I thought overall a lot of teams did a good job.
Yeah, I'd agree. I was just kind of going through my kind of grades to do the next two episodes we have here, both winners and losers. So I started grading them out. And I really struggled to give teams lower than like a B or a B minus. I thought, especially in the first, second round, things were pretty chalk, right? Like even some of the reaches, such as like a Tyler Booker at 12 to Dallas, there were mocks out there that said that. You understood the pick. You maybe didn't like it. But I thought it was pretty chalk. And we criticized teams like Seattle for, they'll never take a guard, or Atlanta, they'll never take a pass rusher in the first round. And they did that because that's where the talent was, that's where their need was, and it fit.
Yeah, and like even with that Cowboys pick, even if you think the Tyler Booker pick is questionable, which we kind of did, they really redeemed themselves in the next two rounds, right? Getting Siobhan Ravel, getting Donovan Ezeraku. So a lot of teams made up for mistakes early on. We're going to start with winners here today. This is a really tough list from us to pick from, Dave, but eventually we narrowed it down to 5. A lot of good teams on this list. A couple notables that we'll mention. I thought the Giants had a really good draft. Didn't particularly like the Jackson Dart trade up, especially with how the quarterback board played out. But the rest of their draft, I really liked. I thought they did a really good job. Also, I really like the New York Jets draft, a draft that not everyone's talking about. I really like the value that they got in the bottom rounds, as well as Azariah Thomas in the third, Malachi Moore in the fourth. Those are two really solid DBs to get in the third and fourth round. Really like what they did. And then obviously the chalk picks at the beginning with Membu, etc. Right? So good drafts from them. They didn't quite make the cut, but I think fan bases of those teams should be really happy with their front office's process. And we'll get to number 5 here. Number 5, Philadelphia Eagles. Howie Roseman does it again. Honestly, Dave, this could probably be higher, but I think we're so used to seeing Howie Roseman just blow everyone else out of the water that this year he had a really solid, good draft, and it just kind of didn't stick out to you quite as much because you're just so used to seeing him going above and beyond.
Not only you're so used to that, because of what we talked about earlier with teams kind of sticking to the board and picking the conventional wisdom, the players didn't really get to fall to the Eagles, and the Eagles didn't get to do their normal sit back, wait, and get their guy kind of thing. But in some cases, especially the top 2 rounds, it absolutely did. At 31, getting Jahad Campbell, I think he comes in, he starts right away, he can play multiple positions in that front. Andrew Makumba, safety as well in the second round, pick 64. He as well can step in right away and be a contributing, rotating safety. I thought those were 2 really great picks right off the top that just kind of fell into their lap.
Yeah, now their secondary is so young with Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, and Mukaba now on the back end. Things look really good for this team, and they already did because they're coming off of a Super Bowl. I think it's always hard to draft when you're in those positions because you're getting the last pick of every round, right? You're not getting the top tier value, but somehow the Eagles find a way to just kind of sit in their spot. I know they traded up 1 pick to get Campbell, but they get an unbelievable coverage linebacker who also has pass rushing value. You get Makuba in the second round, who is a ball hawking safety who's going to be really good at the next level. Some of the picks down the line here. In the 5th round, McWilliams, Central Florida corner. He has a lot of potential. I thought he was pretty raw, but now you have the luxury, because you're the Eagles, of having all these young DBs. He can develop, right? He might turn into something. And if he doesn't, it doesn't really matter because your DB room is so young. I also like the Kyle McCord pick, right? I think he's going to be a really good NFL backup. I think he's going to be like a Gardner Minshew. I don't think he's ever going to be a starter in the league by any means, but I think he's a guy that, because he's so smart and he is a little bit of a gunslinger here and there, but he processes defenses pretty well. I think he can be a guy that on a short week or when he's thrust into a position during the game can step in and do well for a team. So I think that's a good pick. Miles Hinton out of Michigan, good value at tackle late in the 6th round. So just a lot of good back end picks, just always making the logical pick. And the Eagles again and Howie Roseman just do a great job.
Yeah, I remember being very high on Kyle McCord when I was doing my QB evaluation. And it's always just good business to take QBs around this range, develop them. At worst, they're just practice squad bodies, scout team bodies. You cut them, no real loss. Or, hey, you develop them. You can flip them for a 4th, maybe, a team that's desperate for some QB depth. A couple other guys down the board here I really liked as well. Smail Mondon Jr., he's a bit of an undersized linebacker. But dude has speed, he has athleticism, sideline to sideline range, and he hits like a truck. I really like that pick as a developmental linebacker. And Drew Kendall out of Boston College as well. Centers you see kind of go late down the board. But I thought he could have this was probably about the range I thought of him going. And he could end up being a starting center down the road. So if they get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 starters out of this draft if they develop it properly, this is another big hit of a draft for Philadelphia.
Yeah, and they just continue to build depth, which has been such a key aspect of their success in the last couple of years, right? So again,
Absolutely.
Good process, good job holding on to those picks, not moving to get a good. So their process is so good because they don't need to move a bunch of their picks to get talent ready now because they do such a good job drafting and developing. And as we've seen, that's where dynasties are born, right? So let's see if the Eagles continue their success this year. But draft, free agency look good for them once again. So I don't think they're going anywhere anytime soon.
Draft Georgia players. Make good defense.
No, they did that last this year. Only one.
Only one.
Only one. Anyway, on to number 4. Another team notoriously good at drafting, have been for a long time. Baltimore Ravens. Dave, how do you think that went for them?
I really like the Ravens draft. Like we said with Philadelphia, they just sit back, let players fall to them, and that's exactly what happened here. Malachi Starks falling to 29 to them, probably the best safety on the board. He is an instant starter across from Kyle Hamilton. Different kind of player. He can play the slot, he can play the free. Just a perfect complement there. Mike Green falling all the way down to pick 59 for them. I know you're very high on him. Time will tell that he sees the field and the issues get put behind him. But even down the board, I thought that the Teddy Buchanan pick, as a Cal Golden Bears fan myself, I really like him. I really like the fit here. Justin Wilcox plays a very 3-4 Ravens-esque kind of defense. So I think he fits in really well as a Mac backer there. And I know I might get heat for this, but I thought actually picking kicker Tyler Loop was a good one too. I know specialists don't usually get drafted, and if they do, it comes with a lot of heat to it. But it's either you let the guy get to UDFA and you're in a bidding war for him, or you just pick him and you have your guy.
I don't disagree with taking the kicker there. I think they're a team that has such good talent that, like, when you're picking in the bottom 2 rounds, right, you're just looking to fill out for special teams, for one, backup depth, right? You're not really going to find a starter 9 times out of 10. Sometimes you get lucky, right? But I don't disagree with that. I think they're in a great position to do that. This isn't a team struggling to find talent. They don't really need to build up that much depth, especially in these bottom rounds, because they already have it. So I like it. Honestly, like, he's a kicker that can replace Tucker if he can figure the NFL game out, because we've seen it before with kickers like Robert Aguayo, etc., that just can't figure it out at the next level for whatever reason. Yeah, like, I don't think that's a bad pick. Malachi Starks, obviously, in the 1st round. Unbelievable value at 27. And they got the best edge rusher in the class, not named Abdul Carter, at 59. Can't really argue with that one either. Again, I like the draft. I think Emory Jones Jr. has some potential at tackle as well. And Teddy Buchanan, fast, rangy linebacker. Yeah, Ravens do a good job of evaluating linebacker talent, so probably something there too. Can't argue with it. Look good to me, and the Ravens continue to do a good job. All right. Number 3, Here's a team in a different position, right? The first two that we had picking pretty late in the draft, teams that have been very successful in the regular season and postseason for the Eagles, not so much the Ravens. But here's a team that was really bad 2 years ago, took a step this year, and probably finished with a better record than they should have, considering the talent pool. I think their coach did a great job getting them into this position, but they think they killed the draft too. So now they're going to just be even better. Number 3 is the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, I think this is a really good draft for them for multiple reasons and multiple positions. Walter Nolan comes in. He's probably going to play, the three tech kind of 3-4 end, if that's what you want to call him, next to Dalvin Tomlinson. Fills the need. Will Johnson, I thought was great value at 47. Probably is ending up being one of your starting corners. I can't believe he fell this low. And even to bolster your secondary, you picked up a really good player. I think if Denzel Burke declared last year, he would have been picked much higher than this year. He just didn't have as great of a year for Ohio State, and for whatever reason, he dropped down the board to the 5th. So I think that's a very good pick. He kind of reminds me a little bit of the Shaun Wade fall. So hopefully he can put it together a little bit better than Shaun Wade did. But yeah, both at the top and throughout, just good picks. Hayden Connor, good for a backup, right where you want to pick a developmental guard as well.
Yeah.
Good picks by Arizona.
Yeah, I also I think Denzel Burke is going to be a better NFL corner than he was in college because I think the NFL game suits him better. He's a really good zone, like a pure zone corner, right? He has great instincts in zone. As we know, NFL coordinators love running that. In college football, everything's match based because of the wide hashes and the extra space that creates for offenses, right? So in the NFL, you see less of that. You see it a little bit in the Fangio tree and stuff like that. Now Burke gets a chance to kind of do his specialty on not every down, right? But a lot more than he did in college. So I think he will be a very good NFL corner. I don't know if he'll ever be a star, but I think he'll be a very solid, maybe less of a ball hawk, but like a Rasul Douglas type. Like a guy that if he's your 1B true number 2, you're pretty happy with that. And you're not losing games because of him, and he just does his job, right? Not going to win you games. He's probably not going to lose you games either. Cody Simon, I think this was a tiny bit high for him, but I like the player. Jordan Birch from Oregon, I think he's an underrated edge. I think he didn't quite figure it out in college, but he was kind of on the trajectory too. And I think he could potentially be a really good situational pass rusher who has a little bit of power to him too. So I like that pick. And then you get Will Johnson, the best true corner because Travis Hunter's a split, right? In the draft at 47 because of injury concerns. If you can make sure this guy passes all his physicals and is good to go, this is probably the biggest deal of the draft, I would say. This is unbelievable. To get a guy that good at pick 47, that's pretty crazy. And then Walter Nolan is a huge upside pick at 16, right? Maybe he was kind of charted to go around there by draft experts, right? Maybe a little bit lower than what he went, but I like it. It's a big, I don't want to say boom or bust because I don't think his floor is that low, but his potential is so high in what he could be. He could be a Chris Jones type, right? He's a super disruptive interior guy. That's probably the ceiling, right? The floor is probably just a situational pass rushing defensive lineman, interior lineman, right? So I like the process. I think they acquired a lot of good weapons here that will make their team better, especially on the defensive side, because they've been really lacking that. And just good process by them. I think this draft is really going to help them continue to get better as time goes on.
And you look at their pass rush now. I mean, you got Baron Browning, Josh Sweat, Zaven Collins kind of rotating in there as well. And then you have Jordan Birch and Walter Nolan also kind of on the D-line in the nickel packages. It's tough to argue. You look at he's from the Eagles, so you look at the Eagles, how they run their front seven, having multiple guys to rotate, getting after the QB, and that's exactly how it looks like they want to build their defense too. So it's a good recipe for success.
Well, yeah, exactly. And this was a weakness last year for them. Now it's a position of strength, which is great.
Yeah.
It's what good front offices do. On to number 2, Dave, your New England Patriots. As Dave texted me after the draft, his favorite draft from the Patriots since 2012.
The fact that this is a number one still breaks my heart, but I'll let you have your number one. This was such a great draft. Patriots fans everywhere are rejoicing, are celebrating in the streets. Super Bowl style. There should be a parade thrown as far as I'm concerned for this draft. I mean, yeah, we in the Patriots sphere talked about how Bill kind of fell off as a drafter and just kind of won through free agency and great coaching. And he got to the point where he even said this in an interview, which he doesn't usually say much. So when he does say something, it's a big deal. He said he doesn't draft players off of talent anymore. He just wants to draft players that he likes and he wants to coach. Well, that didn't really work out for him.
Yeah.
I appreciate that his last ever first round pick was Christian Gonzalez, so that worked out. But like that draft was terrible. Even the Drake May draft was awful. It's still maybe too early. Jury's still out. But Drake May looks to be the only contributor out of that draft class. This class had the perfect combination of both filling needs and bringing in playmakers that can develop and just the best player available without reaching on anyone. Will Campbell comes in. He's instantly your left tackle. We talked about this in our mock draft that they've just kind of been negligent of the left tackle position. So finally, we have a left tackle. Like, good. You stuck to the board. You picked the obvious one. Nothing wrong with that. Travion Henderson. If we move to a more shotgun pistol based offense, even though it's Josh McDaniels, maybe his time at Ohio State and other universities when he did his little soul searching tour taught him a few things. He's a great pass catching back. He's a great pass pro back. He's just a playmaker. I can't remember the exact statistic, but something about most of his carries went for like 10 yards. Kyle Williams, explosive, a separator. Gone are the days where we're picking the N'Keal Harrys and the guys who, I mean, that's the Patriots like motto for drafting receivers was you pick these contested catches guys who struggle to make separation. He's the opposite of that. He can play the X, he can play the Z, he can play the slot, and all he does is separate and make plays. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah,
Jared
that was
Wilson,
Kyle Williams was Chris Sims. Kyle Williams was Chris Sims' number one receiver in this class.
I know. Which I don't know how much credence to put in it because he also had Drake May as like his number 7 QB.
Yeah, but he hits more than he misses though. If you look back, he does.
Sure, okay. But that's great. That makes me feel great. Jared Wilson, eventual starting center. Josh Farmer, Braden Swinson, both could have gone like a round before they actually got picked. We needed a kicker, yeah. Andre Borregales, Steady Andy, I think, or Automatic Andy is what they called him in college. That's what I want to hear. And even if you look at their UDFAs, like they picked up my kind of receiver draft crush that I knew was going to be UDFA, Efton Chisholm. He's just like the Josh McDaniels guy. He just fits exactly what we look for, and we're just so back, baby.
UDFAs don't count towards the draft rank, you Dave.
Well, that's what
we're gonna do a different episode with the best UDFA signings.
Patriots number 1. So this is just a great draft class, and I'm very excited for it. And you can't not be if you're a Patriots fan.
Yeah, like you should be. Obviously, I detest the Patriots, but
Miles
can't be upset. He wasn't. Can't be upset with this class. Will Campbell was the smart, logical pick. I really like Travion Henderson. Kyle Williams has a lot of potential. Jared Wilson. Also, your 7th round pick in Kobe Minor at corner, I actually think has some potential. Again, he's a 7th round pick because he's really raw, but has good length.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, he's Mr. Irrelevant. Well, he might be somewhat relevant. I don't think he's going to be a star by any means, but he could be a good depth corner for you guys. So I think you're finding value everywhere here. Automatic Andy, 18 of 19 on field goals. Pretty great. All 62 of his extra point attempts. As Urban Meyer said, just make your fucking kicks. Well, Andy, Mr. Andy Automatic certainly does that. Automatic Andy, rather. So yeah. I was at a game once, and it was Division II football, but I went and I won't name the team names because I don't want to make fun of anyone. But there was a team who lost by, I believe, I want to say 6 points. Could have been 8. I believe it was 6, though. Their kicker missed 6 field goals.
Oof.
Call it.
What do? They miss.
But yeah, it's unreal. It's unreal. So on to number one, a team who I think knocked this draft out of the park, the Seattle Seahawks. We all remember how Seattle had that very famous draft in the 2010s that kind of led to the Legion of Boom and what could have been a dynasty if they ran the ball at the 1 yard line. This draft, pretty awesome by this team, Dave. You know, you get Gray Zabel. You get Nic and Dave in the second round. That's tremendous value. This guy's a freak of nature safety. This is your kind of next generation Cam Chancellor. He doesn't hit as hard. He's not as violent of a player, but the ability of him being 6'3" and 220 pounds, being as rangy and able to move as he is very reminiscent of Cam Chancellor. I love the Elijah Arroyo pick at 250. I think in a normal tight end class that wasn't quite as stacked as this one, he's probably your number 1 or 2 tight end on the board in most drafts. I really like his game. He was Cam Ward's safety valve, and he's pretty explosive too. I love the Jalen Milroe pick. I really like it. You just signed Sam Darnold. He's not your franchise, but he's your foreseeable future, I would say. Milroe comes in, has time to develop in Seattle under this staff, and can work out the flaws. You know he has an NFL arm. You know that for sure. He seems to have an NFL mindset too. There is that quote that came out that he was asked at the combine about what do you need to work on, and he's like, how long do you have? Like, he's very self-aware. I think that's a great quality in an athlete that's as talented as Milroe is, because a lot of the time when you're that gifted and you're hearing sweet nothings from all of your friends and everything, it's very hard to be that humble, right? And he is. So I think that's incredible. I think that's a great mindset to have. And I think if he continues to get better and can make good on those words, which I think he can, he has all the potential in the world to be successful at the NFL level. I don't know exactly what the ceiling is, but just having that attitude is going to take him into great places, and he's already made the NFL. So, and then in the 7th round, I love the Damian Martinez pick. That's a great running back in the 7th round. This is a great 1B type runner for you if you need him. They don't need him in that position, but I think eventually he can turn into that guy. I think that's great value in round 7.
Yeah, I mean, took the words right out of my mouth, so I'm not going to repeat too many of the points you said. This draft feels to me like they're trying to build a Baltimore Ravens type team mixed in kind of with shades of the old Seahawks and Philadelphia. I mean, Gray Zabel pick, we all talked about how they don't value the guard position, and then they proved us wrong and went with that. Nic and Dave, obviously a great pick. I'm going to say I don't hate. No, but I really like the picks of even down the board of like Torrey Horton and Ricky White. You lost 2 of your top 2 receivers. Cooper Kupp's not going to be around for too much longer. So, hey, it's a perfect chance to take some flyers. And Robbie Oots is a great blocking tight end. He played fullback as well. So if you're building a Baltimore Ravens type offense from Jalen Milroe and that power running game, Robbie Oots is the perfect fit to play both tight end and fullback there. And I agree. I love the Damian Martinez pick. I obviously got to watch him a little bit when I was watching Cam Ward, and he would come off the tape every now and again, and I'd be like, oh, this guy, he can do some things.
Yeah.
So this was a very good draft.
Yeah. They absolutely knocked it out of the park. The old dog learned new tricks in John Snyder. Love to see it. Love to adapt or die, right, Dave?
Adapt or die.
All right, so those were our winners, right? Good processes by those teams. A lot of good processes by a lot of front offices. Here are the 5 teams that maybe did not do that so well. Here are our 5 losers. Starting with number 5, the Houston Texans. Dave, what did you not like about this process by this front office?
I didn't like this process because, A, I don't mind trading out of the first. We've kind of talked about this was a kind of mid-heavy draft, right? Like more depth than top-end talent. So fine, trade back, pick up a couple picks. If you think you can get the guy you want in the second round, go ahead. They obviously really invested in day 2 of this year's draft, which I don't hate. I don't like the process behind that. But I don't, double dipping at Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel I don't know how long you're going to keep dipping into the Iowa State receivers because you also already have Xavier Hutchinson. I don't, and it's already an extremely crowded receiver room. I just don't think that these guys are going to start over what you have. I feel like there's too much of a Venn diagram crossover between Jaden Higgins and Nico Collins, which Nico Collins is already way better of a player. Jaden Higgins, despite his length, is a body catcher. Jalen Noel, I do love, but I just don't know that he offers you that much more than like a John Mechie type would.
Well, he also they have Christian Kirk in the slot. They just traded for him.
And they have Christian Kirk in the slot too, right?
Yeah.
So he's not offering you anything more than that. I guess you're expecting, Kirk is a rental player, so eventually Noel will be there. But if you're a team looking to make that next jump to the Super Bowl, as they have been the past pretty much since CJ Stroud landed in Houston, I just don't know that these picks really do anything for you. Woody Marks, I thought, was a pretty big reach. Graham Mertz, I did not have as a draftable QB, but hey, if you're high on him, good for you. Honestly, my favorite pick out of this might be Luke Lachey in the 7th round at the tight end. For a team that's trying to be is on the precipice of making the Super Bowl, this didn't move the needle for me at all. It felt like something that you're hoping that these guys develop in 2-3 years' time, and you just don't have the time for that, I don't think.
Yeah, that would actually be exactly my problem with this, is like the rawness of these draft picks, right? Like Jaden Higgins has the body of an NFL X receiver, right? He's raw still. He's not going to be ready on day one for you to be a productive pro. He might get there, but it's going to take time, right? No, I really like Noel's game, but as we talked about the receiving room being crowded at his position, like in the future, sure, this could work out. Jalen Smith is really raw. He has great potential, but again, he's not there yet. He might get there. I think he probably will be pretty solid, but that's going to take some time. That's going to take 2 to 3 years. Same with Graham Mertz. I don't love that pick. I didn't think he was a draftable player either. I think there are bits and pieces that teams can definitely like about his game, but I didn't think he was quite draftable. And yeah, it's just the front bit of this draft just doesn't speak. Their window is quickly closing. CJ Stroud is going to get off of his rookie deal. He's going to get a big deal, and then that's going to be a big cap hit. And they're going to have to pay that because he's an awesome player, right? He's great. Awesome to watch, even as a division rival. So, yeah, I don't really like the process there, to be honest with you. I don't think it matches their timeline. And I thought, I didn't like trading out of the first round. I don't know. There's just a lot there that was left on the table, in my opinion. Our number 4 loser. Here's a team. Here's a team that started off with a bang, and I thought made an excellent first choice. But then after that, started to die down a little bit. Number 4 loser is the Green Bay Packers, the hometown team. Dave.
Yeah, this draft really very similar issues for me as with the Houston. Matthew Golden, I thought, was a really good pick. We talked about in our first round recap that this maybe kind of felt like a luxury pick. Yes, very good player, probably their best player on the board. That's why they picked him. But it's already a very crowded receiver room with Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, and Jaden Reed.
Yeah.
I need to get some sleep. Jaden Reed. And then you double dip at receiver for Savion Williams as well in the 3rd round. I just don't see where he's going to ever see the field. And he's an extremely raw receiver. He was really just a playmaker at TCU, with Jeff Betch being your move the chains more type guy, and he was just kind of your gadgety move around guy. Anthony Bellton, I thought, was a very interesting pick. Yes, you probably needed some depth on that O-line, but Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom are both very serviceable tackles that if I were a Patriots fan pre-April 24th, I would have died to have either of them. And this team's kind of biggest issues were on defense, and they didn't touch on defense until the 3rd day of the draft. Baron Sorrell, I thought he was fine. He's an okay player, probably right where he should have gone. I'm not mad about it. But he's between him and Colin Oliver, another double dip on edge. It just felt like desperation of, well, I hope one of these guys can fit it together day one and probably end up having to start there. And for a team that's really struggling at outside corner, the fact you didn't pick a corner until round 7 with Micah Robinson, I don't know. Like, again, this is a team that should be in their window. Matthew Golden, might push you over the edge. That's a good start. But then beyond that, it just kind of feels like the rest of this draft is a wash and not really helping you get over the hump.
Yeah, like you needed a corner, right? Like Jair Alexander has said he wants out, right?
Also, yeah.
So I don't think they're gonna reconcile and get back together. This doesn't seem like that to me. This seems like he's officially done. I know he said it before, but first of all, I don't know why you would keep someone on the team that keeps wanting to get out, right? Like I know he's super talented and a great player, but that just he needs to get out of that building, right? You are in a position in the third round with a ton of good corners on the board still that are productive players. You decide not to take one. Same in the second round. And you already have okay tackles. You take another one. You could have gotten Nazarea Thomas. I believe in round 2 at 54, Siobhan Ravel was still available because I think he went in the third round. Dallas picked him in the third, I'm pretty sure. So, like, you had corners available to take there that could have been the successor, right? I know you picked Nate Hobbs up in the offseason. He's more of a nickel. You needed another corner outside. You didn't do that. You got a corner around 7 in Micah Robinson out of Tulane, who I don't think is going to be ready to go next year, right? Raw player. He's a 7th round pick, right? So I don't like the process from that standpoint. I thought you could have gone edge a lot sooner than you did as well. That would have been a good spot to go in the second and the third round to get another better quality edge than what they ended up getting. So I don't love it. I just don't exactly understand what the thought process was there.
That's the thing, right? Like, you look at our top 5 winners and you say, what did this draft class do for us? For the good teams, either reloaded their talent that they were missing holes from free agency, or they were bad teams that pick players that are going to start right away. So it was very obvious of what this draft did for you. And with both Houston and Green Bay, what did this draft do for you? You got an explosive playmaker with Golden. Super. Beyond that, what did this draft do for you? It didn't do anything.
Agreed. And like, I love the Matthew Golden pick. I did think that was really good. You started off so well, and then you didn't pick it up. It just kind of, yeah, it's like they were obviously not. It's like they were satisfied with it, and then they just didn't.
Yeah.
All right. Here's another team at number 3 who started off the same way. They made the proper choice at number 9 in Calvin Banks, and then the New Orleans Saints picked Tyler Shough at 40.
Yeah, this is it. If you take out this Tyler Shough pick, right, and you look at the rest of them, you think to yourself, they're just trying to prep for Arch Manning, whether it be next year or the year after, which I think is a bad recipe in general. And this is just me, pure conjecture. But Kelvin Banks, very solid. Is Tyler Shough really your answer quarterback if Derek Carr's out for the year? You're going to have him compete with Spencer Rattler?
He's
This
turning
regime may only
26 this year. He's turning 26. He's not a young rookie.
One chance to pick your QB and go and hopefully succeed. You only get 2 years, as we talked about, as a new hire, as a head coach. And if you're betting your farm on Tyler Shough, I'm sorry, you're out.
Nah.
It's not good enough. I didn't even have him in my top 10 QB rankings, and you picked him in the top of the second round. And beyond that, I don't like much of their board either. Like, the fact that Danny Stutzman's probably going to end up being a starting linebacker for you. The only pick I really like out of this is Devin Neal, who is in a crowded running back room, and you're hoping that he's going to take over for Alvin Kamara, I guess, eventually. But again, that's down the road. Just, this is how you stick pick 9 every year.
Yeah, I don't mind the Quincy Riley pick. I think he'll be a solid pro because he's a good zone corner. Yeah, like here's my other thing with this, right? Your team is in cap hell. You are going to have it tough for the foreseeable future until you deal with that. What would help propel you and take care of that cap is if you just chose best player available over and over again. I don't think they did that. I really don't. Like, let's take a look here. So, you take Tyler Shough at pick 40. Still on the board for you. Donovan Ezaraku. JT from Ohio State. Will Johnson. Elijah Arroyo still on the board. Nick Gordon still on the board. Benjamin Morrison. Those are players that could help you moving forward. I don't think Tyler Shough does. Okay, round 3, you pick Vernon Broughton out of Texas, which isn't awful, but like, again, Azaria Thomas is on the board. There's a corner in the future for you. Siobhan Ravel is still on the board for you. Jordan Birch.
Princely Umanmielen, Jalen Knoll.
Yep. Yep.
Hell, Jalen Milroe would have been a better pick at that pick.
Yeah, that's
in
what
round
I
2
thought
even.
too. So I don't get it.
Again, it's like, what does this draft do for you? Do you really think you have your start? Well, I guess they do, but do you really have your future QB, your QB of the future? Do you have playmakers now? Is your defense shored up? Are you ready to compete with Tampa Bay in the next year? Because your clock's ticking as a head coach. You don't have the time. It just didn't feel free agency as well, and I know they're in cap hell, but that's even more reason to pick best player available and just get the talent in the building, and they just didn't do that. I think this will be a pretty quick stint for Kellen Moore, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's not his fault. Anyway, moving on. Number 2, the Cleveland Browns. Now, before we talk
Nick.
about the draft in its totality, I want to say this, all right? Browns fans and whoever else is saying this is the greatest draft trade of all time. No, I'm sorry. I would like you to, rather than just looking at the picks that the Browns got, look at the totality of the trade. All right? So, I'm breaking it down for you right now. Browns trade pick number 2 with the chance to get a generational edge rusher in Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter to the Jags, who ultimately end up taking Hunter. So, put that in perspective for you. I saw a couple of fans say, oh, you don't take that pick unless there's a defensive end. Guess what? There was. Abdul Carter's right there. You passed up on him. You get Mason Graham at 5. I love Mason Graham. He is a very good player for you. I think interior rushers have a lot of value because they push the pocket and make quarterbacks uncomfortable, and especially for pocket passers, make their life hell. I see the value in him. I think he's an excellent player. There's a difference between an excellent player and a generational player. You had a chance to take 2. You didn't do it. All right. Then you get a second-round pick out of the Jags. All right? Great. With that pick, you pick Quishon Judkins, who is a really good player. Sure. Awesome. Love it. Okay? You get a solid running back. Then, okay, the 4th-round picks. Okay? I want to be very clear with this. The Browns take the worst pick at 126 and give the Jags pick 104. So the Jaguars have acquired 2 better picks from the Browns. Okay? The Browns have acquired 2 better picks from the Jags. So we're technically even in pick value right now, okay, for who got better picks. And on top of that, the Jaguars picked Travis Hunter, who is going to be a more impactful player than Mason Graham in all likelihood. Okay? Then the Jags also get a 6th-round pick. So that's 3 extra picks, okay, to the Browns 2 at this point, right? Which it's a 6th-round pick. Whatever. Doesn't really matter that much. But that's an extra pick the Jags got. Okay? Then the Browns get the Jags 21st. If that is a top 5 pick, they win. The Browns win this trade for sure. Okay, fine. They win it. This is not a ripoff of a trade. This is actually, and okay, yes, I'm a Jaguars fan, but I'm also hypercritical of Jaguars front offices because I have been tortured, as you have been, Browns fans. Okay? So I am not easily pleased. Let me tell you that right now. I am not easily pleased. You have to very much impress me. When you break this down, I think at this moment, right now, this leans in the Jags' favor slightly. If this plays out like it should, where this 1st-round pick probably turns into the 10th to like 15th pick, because the Jaguars weren't actually that bad last year. Like they were, but their quarterback got hurt before the season was over, and they had Mac Jones starting for like 5 to 6 games, right? Like they're not in this position if that doesn't happen. They're still bad, but they're probably picking at like 8 or 9. Okay? They have 2 legit edge rushers. They have good guys inside. Their secondary is a little suspect. I think they probably win about 8 games next year. Maybe not. All right? So this is not the draft trade of the frickin' century. The Bryce Young trade was 10 times better than this. So don't give me that, please. Look into the full details before you make sweeping declarations like that, and very much believe me, if that was the case, I would be letting James Gladstone have it. But I think he should be very happy with this trade. All right? So now that we've got that out of the way, all right?
I thought I was the one getting all the hate. You're coming out with fire. Never did I say that Mason Graham was a mediocre player. I think he's a very good player. Here's my thing. I'm Kevin Stefanski. I have one more year. To turn this team around and make the playoffs. Or else, that's it. There goes my job. Okay, I'm going to trade out of that pick, not pick a generational player who's going to come in, probably be a Pro Bowler, regardless of what your evaluation of Travis Hunter is. Pick a better player. Then, just wait. Quinshaw Judkins and Harold Fannin, fine. These are fine picks. They're good picks. But then you follow it up with Dylan Gabriel. You double dip for Dylan Sampson. Again, I like Dylan Sampson.
Yeah,
but the fact that you double dipped at running back, and not only did you double dip at running back, you double dipped at QB because you still went Shadur Sanders in the 5th. Who's your backup quarterback? Who are you developing? What are you... This is what I mean by you stick in mediocrity. You're double dipping on a position that just doesn't have much value. You go first round, second round. Again, positions that don't typically have great value and don't get you wins. And you double dip at QB where you only have one on the field at a time. And I guess you're just Hail Mary praying that between one of the two of them or Kenny fucking Pickett that he's going to lead you to 11 wins. Like, I'm sorry, just give Stefanski his pink slip now then, because you're not making him get to 11 wins with this. This is how you stick in mediocrity.
Here's the other thing about that quarterback situation, right? Like, let's just take everything else aside. It is impossible now with current NFLPA rules to truly develop two quarterbacks in the offseason in training camp. You're not allowed enough contact reps, right? Like, it's hard enough to do one now. And league front office members, coaches have talked about that. It's really hard to just develop one properly now. You're trying to develop two at the same time? How are you going to do that? It's not feasible at this point, right?
And get Kenny Pickett caught up in your system too, because he's brand new in the building.
Exactly.
So really, you're developing three, right?
Yeah. Just not really bad process. I will say, Dave, the Dylan Sampson and Junkins double dip, I don't mind it, the double dip, because you have Jerome Ford as your running back, Nick Chubb, free agent right now currently. So I don't mind that so much. Did you have other needs? Yes. You didn't address the edge rusher opposite Myles Garrett. You had the chance at number 2 to have the best edge duo in the whole NFL, and you said no to that, which is not great. You had so many needs. I don't really think you addressed any of them properly. And you picked 2 quarterbacks. Why?
There's just there's just no words to say, right? Like, you have so many needs. You are a team bereft of talent in so many positions outside of your one edge. We talked about this before. You have one player at each level of defense, and beyond that, you have nothing. And you chose to forsake that for a linebacker and a defensive tackle. Super. You have no receiving talent. Harold Fannin's a great player, but is he going to start over David Njoku? I don't think so. Not this year.
You know what? I didn't even think of that. Yeah, like, wow.
It just all feels... I say the thing redundancy equals consistency. This is redundancy for redundancy's sake. You have 2 very similar tight ends. You're typically only playing with one. You have 2 running backs now. Great. You're typically only playing with 1. Quarterbacks, you have 3, and if you have 3, you have 0.
Yeah, when you have a young quarterback that you want to develop, you want to put him in the best position to succeed. Now I think you've created an environment that's not really good for those 2. And I don't want to hear, oh, they're going to be pushing themselves and competing. They're already doing that. to be a starter. Now you're taking away their reps that are very limited in today's NFL for these two. Now, number one. All right, so surprisingly, guys, that's not actually our number one loser, despite the rant. All right, our number one loser is the Minnesota Vikings.
We talked about how the other drafts, like, what did this draft do for you? I thought that the Donovan Jackson pick up top in round 1 was fine. Maybe a little bit of a reach, but I understood it. He'll start at guard for you. Your interior O-line was a little sketchy, and that's why you lost the playoff game, right? He has tackle flexibility. I get it. I got the pick. We'll see what they do the rest of the draft. And then we saw what they did with the rest of the draft, and I don't like it. Ty Felton isn't my kind of receiver at the very least. I don't think, in a pretty crowded receiver room as well, I don't see how he sees the field. Picking him in round 3. Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, very raw. Didn't have a lot of experience starting at the college level. This was just and in round 5, it's fine because you're picking based off of traits and you're hoping that you can develop. But again, this pick does nothing for you. Kobe, and then we're into round 6 already. Kobe King. Sure, you have a middle linebacker again. What does that do for you? My favorite pick here was actually Gavin Bartholomew. He's really good. He has all the tools. If you had to build the foundations of what you want out of a good tight end, he has them. He's not quite there yet. He's worth developing, and I think he'll be a good NFL player eventually. But for a team that's, again, knocking on the door of hopefully being a Super Bowl team, this doesn't move the needle for me. I don't think it helps out your redshirt freshman QB coming in. It's just kind of disappointing. It's a little sad, honestly.
Yeah, like minus the Donovan Jackson pick, it's just underwhelming, right? Like this is a team looking to take that next step with JJ McCarthy at the helm. And I don't know if this draft will achieve that for them. I don't think they got a lot better during this process, which they hope to do. So it's tough. Just a lot of picks, right? I don't know how much these guys are going to help them other than Donovan Jackson. So not a great position to elevate their level of play next year.
You think about how you probably have to topple Detroit, right, in the NFC North, and yet still be able to hold off Green Bay. And looking at I know we're just judging the free agent, or just judging the draft class, but even if you look back to free agency, I'm not sure what they've done to really do that, to elevate themselves above that team. It feels like maybe this year is just their redshirt freshman year for JJ McCarthy, and then they're looking for the years beyond. But Super Bowl windows close like that, and I don't think they have the time to be mucking around. And maybe they bring in Aaron Rodgers. Who knows? You would think Pittsburgh has him on line 1 ready to go. But I just don't see how with this draft class and free agency class that Minnesota really takes that next step and is playing in Louisiana this year, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like Kevin O'Connell him and Brian Flores can't do it all by themselves, right? You need to continually get them good talent to work with, like the top organizations in the NFL do. And I don't think they did it in this class, unfortunately, for Vikings and their fans. Yeah, so those are our winners and losers on the Film Grinders podcast. Tell us what you think in the comments, guys. Agree, disagree. I'm sure we'll get some of those disagreements again, but we'll be taking receipts here on the Film Grinders podcast. And I'll tell you what, guys, we'll admit when we're wrong. I'll admit when I'm wrong. Okay? I'm wrong all the time. I don't think that particular thing we're going to be wrong about. So we will see you guys next time. We will be doing an episode grading every single team. And then we will do a couple of things with best free agents or undrafted free agent signings, stuff of that nature to carry us through the summer and to the start of the NFL year when we'll do team previews. Very exciting. We will see you guys next time. Thank you for tuning in again on the Film Grinders podcast. Thank you for listening to the Film Grinders podcast. Make sure to follow us on all your favorite podcast platforms. From me and the guys, thank you. We'll see you next time.